What is going on, everybody? So today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different from what I usually do, and I have no idea how long this video is going to be. I'm going to try not to make it too incredibly long, but today I'm going to be kind of talking about my life a little bit, something I've never really done. If I have, I really don't remember it. But anyway, as you can see by the title of the video, it's titled my time in the SAR and how it changed my life. That's what the video is about. So if you're not familiar with what the SAR is, which some of you might be, some of you might not be, it stands for Sons of the American Revolution. And now you can probably see why I didn't include the whole name of the organization in the title of my video. It's a pretty long name, SAR. Yeah, but I'm gonna be touching a little bit on that today. Kind of how I joined and how it changed my life. And I don't really expect to get a whole lot of views from this video. Really, this is for my own reflection, kind of, and for my friends to kind of tune in and kind of learn something from me about my time in SAR. And of course, this could also be for anyone else who watches this video. I hope maybe I can spark some interest in joining the SAR, because that would be awesome. It's awesome when people have an interest in preserving history and remembering their ancestors who fought in past conflicts. Anyway, let's get right to it. So the SAR, the Sons of the American Revolution, we're an organization. I've been a member for 3 years now. I can't believe it. I gotta readjust. So I've been a member of the SAR for 3 years now, since 2022. I was inducted in May, and kind of how I came to learn about SAR. I've known about them for years, but I never really thought I'd be joining the SAR. But basically what happened was, my grandfather, no, he was not a member of the SAR. He's not a member of the SAR. But he was listening to the radio. He was driving somewhere. I don't know where he was driving. It's irrelevant. But he was listening to the radio one day, and an SAR member, I don't remember who, don't ask, an SAR member was on the radio. My grandfather listens to a lot of 60s music, like the 60s on 6 on Sirius XM. He listens to that when he's driving, because, the 60s was kind of his prime, for lack of a better term. But he was listening to the radio one day, and someone with the SAR was on the radio, kind of talking about the SAR, what they do, what kind of events they got going on, yada, yada, yada. And he calls me up. Shortly after that, probably, I wasn't with him when it happened. He called me up and said, "You need to check out the SAR, the Sons of the American Revolution." We're just gonna, you need to check out the Sons of the American Revolution. It might be something you might be interested in. Of course, for those of you that are watching that know me really well, know that I love history. I'm a little bit of a history buff. You can see all my endless supply of books in the background, about World War II, the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, my Abraham Lincoln bobblehead down there, Yeah, I love history. So I said to him, that sounds cool. So, yeah, from then on, I was kind of doing research on the SAR and, kind of what they do and how I can become a member. And for those of you that don't know this, to be a member of the SAR, you have to have an ancestor who served in some capacity in the Revolutionary War. And you have to be able to prove to prove that lineage, and it is a hassle, but I promise you it is worth it when you get in, if you want to really have a way to honor your ancestor. or your ancestors, because in most cases you're going to have more than one ancestor, but you get in with one ancestor. But that's how you get into the SAR. So I did some research. I'm not gonna say any names about who I contacted. You can look that up on the SAR website. I think, if I remember right, to see who to contact about becoming a member. So I found this guy. I live in Tennessee. So I found this guy from Nashville, and I sent him an email. I said, "Hey, I was hearing a lot about the SAR, and I was interested in maybe joining. Can you kind of tell me more about it? You know, what do I know? What do I need to do to become a member?" So he's like, "Oh, cool, yeah." And so, we kind of emailed back and forth for a while. It was kind of a process with him. I was kind of sending him some documents. Of course, the SAR, Sons of the American Revolution. So only men are allowed to join the organization. But we do now, I don't think we did when I first joined, but we do now have a ladies auxiliary. For women at events, the wives of SAR members, to help out with setting up functions and, all different numbers of stuff. I'm not going to go into all of that, but to be a member of the SAR, obviously you have to be a male. For any women that find this video, there is a Daughters of the American Revolution as well, which obviously you have to be a woman to join, but we're not going to get into all that. So yeah, I sent the guy, my birth certificate, which that was a funny story. My birth certificate, my original birth certificate, doesn't have my gender listed. Funny enough, I was born in Indiana, and for some reason, Indiana birth certificates at the time didn't list, or at least a lot of them didn't list genders on them, and mine was one of those cases. And it's funny, it was a weird, and getting ahead of myself, but it was weird enough because when I got the process really going, got to where I was actually talking to the president of the society, it was stupid. The president at the time, he had to have my gender on my birth certificate, and my original birth certificate does not have my gender listed. So I had to contact the hospital I was born in and get a birth certificate. It's got the seal of Indiana on it, my gender, yada yada yada. So that was a hassle to go through. It was kind of a funny story, but yeah, now I have two birth certificates. One of them has my gender on it. So that was kind of a funny story, but I was getting ahead of myself. So after I contacted the guy, with some basic information, don't have to give anything too crazy yet. I got a call from a guy who was a past president of the Tennessee Society, and so he called me up, and he's like, "Hey, I heard you were interested in joining the SAR." I'm like, "Yeah, I would love to know more. I'm trying to join." So yeah, he helped me out tremendously, and he's come to become a guy that I admire a lot. He's done a lot for the SAR, but anyway, so he called me up. He's kind of the guy, the state registrar or the chapter registrar, which he's kind of the guy that handles all the genealogy stuff. Like when there are new members that are trying to join and whatnot, they he kind of receives their application, reviews it, and he kind of researches their ancestry a little bit, and so basically he's like asking me about what I know about my ancestry, which honestly not a lot going all the way back to the Revolutionary War, but really anything that happened before the Civil War, I just really didn't know that much about. I had an ancestor, a grandfather that fought in the Civil War for the Union, but that's not the point. And he was asking me about some of that, and he was asking, what's your father's name? What's your grandfather's name? Your great grandfather's name? Your great great grandfather? It was kind of a tedious process, but he was trying to. I just listed off a bunch of names until he was able to effectively trace my ancestry back. So, lost my train of thought. Happens a lot. So yeah, we kind of got into all that, and he was able to finally trace my ancestry back to a Jonathan Rowley from Vermont. I will say that name because he's long gone now. It won't hurt anybody. So he traced my lineage back to a man named Jonathan Rowley. He was a Vermont judge who helped Vermont basically declare independence from Great Britain and join the colonies in rebellion. So another thing I will mention is that just because you have an ancestor, he's an ancestor, he, she, whoever, they're an ancestor. Just because you have that ancestor doesn't necessarily mean that it can be proven. And that's not really something I want to go into. You can do your own research on that. But yeah, I had another ancestor that I told him his name, like, hey, I'm related to this person, and he couldn't really trace it. So he did some tracing for me, like from my father, my grandfather, great grandfather, yada yada yada, and he traced it back to Jonathan Rowley. And that was inevitably the ancestor that I used to get into the SAR. So yeah, it was a long, tedious process. It took months. From the time I talked to the guy, so he got all that submitted. SAR headquarters in Louisville. So he gathers up all the paperwork, and he sends it to Louisville, to the SAR headquarters, where they can review the documents, and then approve your membership, yada yada. It took months. It was a long process, and don't lose hope. If you're joining the SAR and it's taking forever, to get approved, just don't lose hope. Be patient, because it takes a while. But once you get your membership approved, it's worth it. It's worth it. That's what I'm gonna say. So yeah, I was waiting for months, and then finally I got the notification that I was approved. Of course, at this time I'm working in a factory at Pro Ampac. I still work there to this day. I'm not gonna go into that, but I finally got an email from, SAR. Every state has districts, different districts with different chapters. Chapters, a group of people. You have different chapters. Like in Tennessee, you have like the Andrew Jackson chapter, the Valentine's Sevier chapter, the James Madison chapter. For example, I got an email from the chapter president of the Colonel Anthony Bledsoe chapter. He was the chapter president at the time. He's not anymore. He's still a member of our chapter. So he emailed me. Yeah, I gotta get my facts straight. It's been a while ago, but I got an email basically saying I've been accepted. This is your induction day. Yada yada yada. I'm like, okay, cool. Gotta think about everything, man. There's so many good memories I've had with SAR now. Anyway, I had my induction finally after work. I was on 8-hour shifts at the time. I'm not anymore. I'm on 12. Ugh. Anyway, I had my induction, and boy. It was at the public library in Hendersonville. And the public library in Hendersonville, Tennessee, has a very good relationship with our chapter. We host our chapter meetings every month there, almost every month. If they have a spot open for us, we have to get reservations and all that other stuff. But I got the email saying, hey, your induction date is yada yada yada. It was in May. I forget the exact date. I think it was the 9th or something like that. It was in 2022. And I'm like, okay. He said, come 30 minutes early so we can get acquainted with you and everything like that. Bring family if you want. So yeah, my dad came, grandparents came, my aunts and uncle came. But yeah, it was kind of a big deal for me. Not really a whole lot of people really come to the chapter meetings every month. They're at 5:30 in the evening. So a lot of people really just don't make it out. But yeah, I remember the first chapter meeting, and I remember we got there. We have our meeting. We basically the chairs were all they looped around like a U shape in the middle of the room. And I remember I was sitting on the right side of the room. And, we got there, we shook hands with the chapter president and the vice president and yada, yada, yada. Kind of got acquainted with everybody. And then the meeting started. Every meeting, basically what it is, it's like a business, kind of. We're talking about business, what are our funds? How much do we have in the fund, I really can't say. There are certain things I can't say, obviously, for obvious reasons about finances, but, things like that. What do we have in the bank? What's the status of our grade marking on this day, which I'll touch on that, grade marking here in a minute, or in a few minutes. But I remember it was me and this other guy, a younger guy, that were getting inducted that night. And kind of rambling on. Some things I had to remember. But I remember we got up there and we got inducted into the SAR by the chapter president at the time. It's an oath. You're taking an oath. Let's say you're joining the military, you're becoming president of the United States. That's what it is, an oath. You'll raise your right hand, obviously. Actually, I don't remember if we did that when we were inducted. I think we did, but I don't remember for sure. But we raise our right hands. They, it's like I, Colin Maddox, do solemnly swear, yada, yada, yada. We did all that. And then what they do is they have this little rosette about that big. So I can show you the rosette. And they have a little rosette. It's like that. That is a rosette, and I pin it to my collar when I go to SAR meetings. They pinned it to my collar. Actually, that was another funny story. I wasn't wearing a shirt with a collar. I was just wearing a kind of like a button-up shirt. So they just kind of had to pin it to right there. I remember the same guy that I was talking to about getting my ancestry stuff figured out, my lineage. The same guy that helped me trace all that back, he was the one that did it. He said, I hope I don't stab you in the jugular, yeah. It was a good joke. But he pinned that on me. I remember we had our first meeting. This lady came and spoke. I can't remember exactly what it was about this old house somewhere. We go there, it's a history organization. So we're going to be talking about history at some point. So if you're not into that thing, if you're not into that thing and like history is like, oh, history's so boring, then maybe SAR is not for you. But still, I do want to encourage those that are interested in joining and reach out and join. I would love to see more members join the SAR. I would love that. So this whole video has really been me rambling on about how I joined the SAR, and I really have been rambling. And I hope you can understand me. But that was my first meeting with the SAR. I remember very vividly that after the meeting was said and done, my family and I went out to eat at Cracker Barrel. I remember that very vividly. But yeah, the rest is history. I've been a member ever since. So that first year, man, to think back on it, it really hasn't been, it's not like it's been like 15 years or something like that. It's been only 3 years, but still, there's so many memories. I remember my first grave marking. My first grave marking, what we do is a grave marking, we go to a cemetery somewhere. Obviously, grave marking. We're marking a grave. I'm going to tell you how we do that. We go to a cemetery somewhere. We buy these markers with the SAR logo on them. And sometimes they're different. Sometimes there's this little bronze plaque that you just stick in the ground. Other times we completely refurbish the grave and the marker will be like on the headstone. It's cool. Sometimes it's just a little footstone you put in front of the headstone. You know, different things. We have different ways of doing it. And we got to get approval from the cemetery in question before we can do it. You can't just waltz in there and mark the grave. The grave gets marked before the ceremony takes place, by the way. But anyway, that's what a grave marking is. And a lot of older cemeteries where you see like Revolutionary War graves, you will see the SAR logo or the DAR logo. DAR does grave markings too. But typically what happens is we have a bunch of people called the color guard. You know, you think school, you know, like high school or something like that. They'll have like a color guard or whatever high school would call it. Where in our case, we dress up in colonial dress, like Revolutionary War gear, the whole shebang. We'll have a uniform. Some people dress up like more raggedy because during the Revolutionary War, where the United States was not an official army, we were in rebellion. So we really didn't have an effective fighting force. I'm just being honest. So a lot of us will dress up in kind of that kind of gear, like more raggedy looking, and other people will dress up in the colonial blues. Like me, I wear a blue uniform, a blue and red uniform, like with a tricorn hat and whatnot, and we will have muskets. I have a brown best flintlock musket. Like so, that's my musket. I should have had it out before I started the video, but that's it. I've been meaning for ages to do a review video on this, but I've never done it. But this is a real musket. It's not original. This is a reproduction musket. It's a flintlock musket, but this is what would have been used during the Revolutionary War, mainly by the British Army, but American patriots had them too. I don't know why okay. Put that there for now. And a lot of people will carry something more along the lines of this. This is a rifle. This is I never really have been able to ID this gun, so if anyone could ID it, that would be greatly appreciated. But we pretty much determined it's not original. Anyway. So yeah, we'll take those muskets and we'll march, you know, the whole shebang. We'll march, we'll post the colors, which, you know, the American flag. We'll take the American flag, the SAR flag, the state flag, depending on what state you're in, yada, yada, yada. And we'll post them in a hole in the ground. And it's funny too, because a lot of grave markings I've been to, our marching patterns would be all out of sync, and we'd have trouble finding out where the hole is. Like at events, we'll be like trying to find where the hole is. It's hilarious. And that's happened to me more times than I can count. But anyway, yeah, that's what it is. And then we'll take our muskets. A lot of us will have muskets. We'll march with the musket, and then we'll do a 3-volley salute. And yeah, we don't shoot real bullets out of them, obviously. We'll put black powder. We'll put powder in the pan, powder down the barrel, bang, 3 times. And we'll do that a lot. And then we'll stand at present arms for the Pledge of Allegiance and the Star Spangled Banner, you know, all that stuff. So I remember my first grave marking. We marked the grave of Anthony Bledsoe and his brother Isaac over in Gallatin, Tennessee at Bledsoe's Fort State Park, which if you haven't been to Bledsoe's Fort, thought I heard something. If you haven't been to Bledsoe's Fort State Park, I highly recommend going, seeing it. It doesn't really look like much when you're driving up to it, but it's got some walking trails and the Cavern of the Skulls, which I won't touch on in this video, but it's really cool to check out. I would do that. But we went there, and when we marked that grave, it was when my friend Job came to visit me in Tennessee. He lives in Indiana. So he and Noah, my other friend, came with me. And we just kind of brought lawn chairs and sat. I didn't have my uniform yet, but it was cool. For my first grave marking to be marking the grave of Anthony Bledsoe, my chapter namesake. With the memories. SAR really has been quite an experience for me. Sorry, I moved my camera. SAR has really been quite an experience for me. It's changed my life in so many ways. I'm not gonna tell you every little nook and cranny detail about my time in SAR, but just some fond memories that I've had. I'm kind of rambling on about it, but some things you just can't help. But yeah, I remember very vividly my first grave marking. Shortly after that, I bought my uniform. And by the way, for those of you that are joining SAR and you want to participate in the color guard, I bought my uniform from a site called Townsend's. They bought craft, or they make period correct clothing and stuff like that. And I got most of my gear from there. And the musket I got from Dixie Gun Works, and it cost me about $1,700. Not cheap. But yeah, that was just looking back on it now, it's hard to believe it's been 3 years already. So the next year, I'm gonna wrap this video up in a minute. The next year, we had a new chapter president. What happens is the chapter president usually serves 1 year, a 1 year term, and then the vice president will be sworn in as the president of the chapter. And I think it's the same way for state president and the national president or president general. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's how it is. But I do know that's how it is for chapter. Yeah. So we had a new chapter president in 2023. Really great guy. That's where I really kind of got to shine a little bit. He asked me if I wanted to write a short article for the newsletter every month, which I accepted. So I wrote history articles for the chapter newsletter. The Bledsoe Bulletin is what it's called, which I'm still doing to this day. Only now I'm actually editing the whole newsletter. So I did that for a while. For that first year, I would write a history article, like Washington spies. I'd write a story about that, about the Battle of Monmouth. I'd write a 4th of July article. And I did that all year. And that won me my first medal, which you can see. I'm not really going to take my camera up there. You can see my membership certificate up there and my bronze Roger Sherman medal certificate up there. I won't show the medals today. They're in my cabinet over there. Excuse my mess. So my memory, I remember the grave markings that we did that year. We did so many events, and every year we'll go down to the National Cemetery in Madison, Tennessee. Nashville National Cemetery has got over 30,000 different graves, 3 Medal of Honor recipients, a bunch of Civil War soldiers. But we'll go there every Memorial Day, all dressed up in our gear, you know. We won't take the muskets. They won't let us take the muskets. They used to let us take the muskets to Wreaths Across America, but they don't let us do that anymore. That's a whole nother story. But we'll go there, and we'll place flags at the graves of the veterans at the cemetery, and we'll step back, and we'll salute, and we'll say the name of the veteran and his rank. So that's kind of a little neat thing, and they do a little ceremony in the beginning, like like we're here today to honor the veterans who sacrificed everything, you know. It's really cool stuff, and Wreaths Across America is very similar, except instead of flag, we place a wreath at each of the graves, and you have to actually purchase the wreath. We don't always have enough wreaths to place on all the graves, which is sad, but Nashville National Cemetery is huge, and it would take forever to place a wreath at all the graves, and it'd take a lot of money, and it's just, there's a lot that goes into it. But we'll do that every year, and we'll actually march with the color guard, and we'll post the colors. And it used to be before I joined the SAR, they let the SAR take their muskets and do a salute, but they don't let them do that anymore, and at least not at Nashville National Cemetery. Dang, I messed up my box. Anyway, man, those are some fun events that we do. We'll do, 2023 was a big year for grave markings. I did a lot of grave markings that year. I'm not really going to go into detail about all of that. I remember going to Beach Cemetery in Hendersonville. We did a grave marking there. And I remember very vividly, it was, the ground was kind of really hilly. It was kind of hard to walk on. I remember that, and trying not to trip. I'm sorry, I'm just reminiscing. I can't believe I've been a member of the SAR for this long. So, "2024 comes around. We have a yet another new president. Like I said before, each year the vice president takes up the presidency. You have the president, the vice president, and the second vice president. 2024 comes around the corner, and basically my name kind of gets out to more higher up officials in the SAR, to the Tennessee Society president. So word kind of got to him, or he came to one of our first meetings of 2024 with our new president, one of our first meetings. And the chapter president introduced me to him, and he was like, hey, my chapter president was like, hey, Colin here, writes our articles for the newsletter every month. Like, oh, cool. Would you like to help out with the state newsletter? I was like, yeah, why not? Only later to find out that what that would entail after a couple phone calls with him and emails, whatnot, that I would be the newsletter editor or the newsletter chairman of the state of Tennessee. So I edit the whole newsletter of the Tennessee newsletter. You get what I'm saying? I'm word salad, kind of. So yeah, I got to doing that all of 2024. Of course, the guy in question, the state president at the time, his term was cut short because of health concerns, so a new guy took up the mantle, and then we immediately kicked off the newsletter, and we posted our second articles, or I posted my first full newsletter that I edited. Put my own article in there, edited. Everybody would send stuff to me via email, and I would edit it into the newsletter. So I did that all of 2024. All of 2024. So my name continued to rise in the SAR, and by the end of 2024, I won 2 new medals. The Bronze Henry Knox medal and the Shot Heard Around the World medal. Now, it also reminds me, another big thing that SAR is doing is called America 250, which is basically, we're counting down the years until we have America's 250th birthday, which is next year. So that's going to be big. So we have America 250 events. Like, each event that you attend, you get like points for it. But certain events that you don't have to be dressed up to get points. Other events you do. You get points for it, and eventually you can like earn your way up to a grave marking medal or a color guard medal, things like that. It's really cool things. It's cool participation things. And for those of you that are into that kind of thing, into being involved, and especially if you're into history, even if you're not into history, but you want to remember, you want to learn more about your ancestor, whatever it might be, join the SAR or the DAR. I promise you, it will be worth it. It will be worth it. And so yeah, I worked my way up in 2024 to being newsletter chairman and earning 2 new medals. And man, the memories. I can't stop talking about it. I can go on and on for hours about SAR and everything that I've done in SAR, but I won't. But I'm going to close out this video in a minute. But I worked all my way up, all the way from 2024. And then at Reads Across America, I remember. At Reads Across America, which is held in December. It's basically a Christmas event at the cemetery. At Reads Across America, the chapter registrar, the same guy that helped me with getting into the SAR, helped me with my genealogy stuff, he came up to me and said, hey, how would you like to be the second vice president of the chapter for 2025? Like, whoa, that's a big leap. I got to think about that. So he gave me 2, it was about 2 weeks from that time, and until our next meeting. We have our meetings every third Thursday of the month usually, which of course I haven't been able to go to because 12-hour shifts, but that's another story. I'm like, yeah. So the meeting comes around the corner, and he asked me again. He says, "So have you thought about it?" I said, "Why not? I'll do it." So that's how I came to be the second vice president of the Colonel Anthony Bledsoe chapter, a position that I still hold to this day, in addition to being newsletter chairman of the state of Tennessee and the newsletter editor for the Colonel Anthony Bledsoe chapter. So I've been continuously working my way up. Working my way up the chain. So basically, second vice president, really, it doesn't require much. You're basically just there in case the president and the vice president, can't do their functions for whatever reasons. Everyone has their reasons. Sometimes they just can't make it to an event or to our meetings. In which case, they ask a substitute to fill in. In which case, if both of them can't do it, I'd do it. And then in 2026, I become the vice president. In 2027, I'll become the president of the chapter. So yeah. I'm going to close out this video in a minute, but SAR really, man, this was a long video. Man, SAR, it changed my life in a lot of great ways. I met some awesome people, and I learned new things that I didn't know. And I like to brag about how much I know about history, American history in particular. But I met some awesome people. I got to do some awesome things. And it's all just been an amazing experience for me. And that's something that I'll cherish forever. Just reminiscing on it now, I can't believe it's been 3 years since I first joined, with many more to come. But anyway, I'm gonna begin closing out this video. I know this video, a lot of you might not watch it all. I don't expect you to. I don't really expect to get a whole lot of views on it. It's really for my own nostalgia trip and for my friends to check out if they want to. But also, I do want to say that this can be for people that might be interested in joining SAR. And I encourage you, if you're interested, if you're thinking about it but haven't made up your mind yet, I encourage you to join. The membership dues, you only have to pay membership dues once a year at the end of the year. But it's really a great opportunity to get history out there into the public domain for people to learn and to inspire, to educate. And we do a lot of educating to the young too. We'll go to school events and we'll dress up in colonial dress, things like that. We'll go to living history events. It's not just grave markings and the cemeteries. We'll do living history events. We'll go to JROTC events, just regular school events. We do a lot. And it's really the experience of a lifetime. I'll say that. But anyway, I'm gonna begin closing out this video. I'm going to close out this video. I'm sorry for rambling on so much, but it's just something a video that I wanted to do for a while, and I'm glad I did it today or tonight. I'm gonna definitely do more videos like this. But anyway, And I did a lot of talking tonight. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video.